I would like to start off by having our panelists introduce themselves and give a little bit of information about your co-op and internship role while you were a student here at Northeastern, as well as your current full-time job experience. So I'm going to open up the floor and let whoever wants to start jump in.
I can go first.
All right, again, go right ahead.
All right, so my name is Gagan Kumar. I graduated from Northeastern University with a master's degree in computer science in 2018. I joined Red Hat immediately after that as a software engineer. Right now, I work as a technical product manager at Red Hat. And in terms of interview experience, I can say I have played for both sides in a short period of time. So I was giving interviews for co-op and full-time positions 3 years ago. And now I lead the efforts to hire co-ops for Red Hat from Northeastern University. So that's a short introduction about myself. Back to you, Ethan.
Yeah, I can go next. You can hear me, right? Yeah, first of all, thanks for inviting me here. I'm very glad to be here, contributing to the Northeastern community. Yeah, so for me, I am currently working as a machine learning engineer at Amazon Alexa in their smart home team. Yeah, so I graduate. I am an MSCS Align program graduate, and I think like I am like Align program second batch. So I graduated last well, I think 2020 December. Oh wait, 2019 December. Yeah, so during that, yeah, so I think like I had a great experience, like within like when I was in school, I did like I did research during college, and then I did an internship at MathWorks. And then, yeah, after that, after graduation, I've been working at Amazon for 1 and 8 months, I think. Yeah. So in terms of interviewing experience, I'm not actively interviewing, but I can share my experience when looking, like when seeking jobs, like near the end of my master degree.
It's my turn. Hey everyone, my name's Lei. I'm currently a software engineer at Audible/Amazon. So like Zui, I was also a line student, graduated about 9 months ago, last year. So I was in the same boat as you not long time ago. So those memories are still fresh in my mind. So feel free to ask any questions. If I know the answer, I will be glad to share.
Thank you. Okay, well, it's great to honestly have all three of you here, and I definitely want to make sure that we have plenty of time to ask our questions as well as Q&A from our students, both online and in person, who are in attendance. So I'm going to start off with just some very general questions about technical interviewing, and you could definitely share these both just from general knowledge as well as your own experiences. So I think I'm going to start off with Zway. What is the purpose of a technical interview? What is the employer looking to assess, and why are they having you do this as part of the interview process?
Yeah, I think so. It is basically fundamentally they are trying to assess you how you would operate in the actual working environment. So they try to assess like a few things. So first and foremost is problem solving, right? So we engineers, when you're working on the like real full-time job as a software engineer, we have to solve a problem every day. So that is fast, but by giving you some chance to by posing a question and having you trying to solve in real time can give you a glimpse into how your real problem solving look like. And then second thing is your communication. We yeah, like you have to like think out loud, right, in your real job. So when you are trying, like you are not working alone, like you're working with like other team members, and then you're trying to solve the problems together. So you should be able to like communicate what you are thinking, what your idea, what your proposed solution to other people, so that other people can contribute, give feedback, etc. Yeah, and then the last thing is like um, that your ability to get like absorb the feedback from other people and learn, right? This is also apparent in the technical interview. They will give you like some like um, questions, and then you're supposed to like you are kind of like have to understand it, and then like work upon it, improve your solution upon it. So those are kind of like the things that uh, that you could see mapping from this technical interview to the real world working scenario. Top of all, right, they are also trying to assess your technical competence. Um, yeah, whether you are kind of like, but I don't think like, but you don't need to be very good, right? As long as you are good at like a good problem solving skills, a good communication skills, and then your ability to receive the feedback and learn, your technical competency will grow over time. So that is how I think of, what the interviewers are looking for during a technical interview.
Thank you, Zwei. So for these next couple questions, Gagan, I'm going to call on you to give some insight. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the types of technical interviews, as well as typically how long technical interviews could last, depending on the type or the situation that you are faced with?
Okay, so I think it depends on the company with whom we are interviewing. In general, what happens is someone from the team is going to call you. That's called screening. They just want to make sure that you're not bluffing on your resume. They will just go through your technical backgrounds. They will be interested in knowing what are the projects that you are working on and everything. And then comes the meaty part. So that is where you actually get to meet the person. Okay, now it is not happening, in person, but now it's virtual one-on-ones, wherein they will ask you a question, and you have to solve that question in 30 to 45 minutes. Usually, you will have one screening and 2 rounds of one-on-ones for internship and co-op positions. But I'm speaking in terms of Red Hat. I'm pretty sure Amazon or Google, they have their own format. But this is how it usually happens. And in terms of what we are looking for when we are trying to hire someone is, there are 3 things. One is the technical aspect, like do they understand what they are talking about? If you solve a leak code hard question in 10 minutes without even talking to interviewer, that's not going to work out. And the second one is we need to understand whether they are capable enough to handle some of the exceptions that might come up. So when they give you the question, in most of the cases, the interviewer, he or she is going to change it slightly or going to add some use cases that you might have not thought about. And the last one is interpersonal skills. Are you good enough to work in the company? Not in terms of technical aspect, but can someone, work with you and feel okay? So I think these are the 3 things that we'll be looking for when we are trying to hire a co-op or even a full-time associate for that matter.
It's great insight. Thank you so much for sharing. Lehu, get you in the loop on some of our questions here. So tell us a little bit about what did you do in your experience, and what should students do during like an on-site or virtual, right? As we said, them a lot, very, very virtual now, but on-site technical interview. Like describe like the typical experience of actually going through the process of the technical interview.
Yeah, I think the most common one would be like the interviewer will ask us students to solve a algorithm question or do a simple design, like object-oriented design. And usually the question, the problem would be not that clear, like it's not clearly defined, or there is some space that we as a student can ask to clarify. And actually, it's after I joined the company that I knew that the interviewer, they did it, intentionally did it. They expect the interviewee to ask questions. So it's also kind of in daily work, daily work life. It's very common to encounter problem that we have no clue of, or is very vague. We don't know how to solve it. So whether or not you dare to ask question to someone you work with, and whether or not you are able to define the, to clarify the question and make it solvable, basically. And I think that's some point that we usually, as a student, we just assume, okay, here's the problem, I need to solve it, and right on the bottom we start to try to write a code for it. But I think it's an important step, and that the interviewer is trying to evaluate. Yeah, and then I think it's also I think depends on people's coding style. Some interviewer want you to explain in detail why you are writing a code like this, what this part of code is serving. Some interviewer just want you to write the solution directly. I think when you enter the room, you and based on your conversation, you will figure out whether or not you want to explain and how much in detail that your solution is. Yeah. And that, yeah, and also like it's common that you're stuck on a question, or like at that on the when you're on the spot, maybe something you can solve becomes unsolvable at that specific time. So I think feel free to, not feel free, but if you really feel you need some time or you want some hint, you should ask for help instead. I think that's better than being stuck there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and it's just a waste of time, and the interviewer will like access it as a not being able to ask questions. Yeah.
That's great. No, thank you so much for sharing. Really good insight. And I guess for this one, because this is a pretty big question as well, a lot of pieces, a lot of important information. Zoe and Gagan, if either of you want to add in any insight as well, please feel free to jump in now.
I think she pretty much covered what I had to say. So the one thing that I would like to add is always make sure that you convey your thoughts. People actually say this, they say think out loud. So it is okay if you don't know that question. It is okay if you don't arrive at a solution for that question. But if you at least let them know what you're trying to think and how you're going to implement it, that is good enough. And trust me, almost every software engineer will actually look up Stack Overflow at least once a day because not everyone knows everything. So it's okay to ask interviewers for help. That is absolutely fine. You need not hold back.
That's great. Thank you.
One thing I would like to add is that like you need multiple practice. So it is either I don't know about I have yet to meet someone who has got a job on a fast interview. So it's, most of the time like you kind of have to go through multiple loops and then multiple like on-site or phone interview, and then keep refining your procedure. And then talking to people and then identifying your weakness. Sometimes like initially say like it is your very first interview, you are nervous and you won't be thinking, like you won't be communicating clearly. But if you try that like a few times, then you kind of get you become a little bit more calm, and then you are able to communicate more clearly. So that is what I would say, like practice, because I have tried. I think like I remember like I was doing some like interview practice with just some random people on the internet. I think there's a website for it. So things like that could be like really helpful to practice, like being able to think on the spot, and then like communicating clearly what you are thinking. So those yeah, I would like to give that advice.
Thank you all. Okay, so for these next couple of questions, I'm not going to call on a specific panelist, but I really want to just open these up to any of you to answer. So what would you say is the most challenging technical interview that you have participated in or that you have been on? That could be co-op, internship, or full-time, of course. And like I said, as any of you want to answer.
All right, so I can go for this one. So I would say my experience with interviewing with Google for a full-time position was the toughest interview challenge I ever had. And of course, I didn't get the job, but it was really good to understand the other perspective. Like from interviewers, I could understand what they were looking for. And even though those questions were pretty, not exactly standardly code questions or HackerRank questions, but they were pretty common in terms of what algorithms or data structure you need to use. But the way how they framed it, it was really good. So it wasn't very, just 1 or 2 line questions. They had specific use case, and they wanted to understand how users actually are taken care of in terms of the code that I'm going to write. So that was pretty interesting.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for me, more challenging ones, I think they are like twofold. Usually because like over the course, like when I was like I spent most of my time trying to do these algorithm questions because those were my like weak spots. But since I was focusing on that, I kind of get a little bit weak on other areas. So I have like two things. One is like one time I got the interview for data science job, and actually I did not take like database course. So I know what SQL SQL is, but I haven't practiced it, and I can't really write it in a very fast or like in a very efficient way. So when they ask like in that data science interview, the onsite is like they just ask you that like you have a table, and then you are supposed to kind of like query something, and then I was not able to do that, and I guess that's why I did not get that offer. Yeah, so that was, and then and then after that I went back and study it up a little bit, improve the SQL knowledge a little bit. Another one kind of types of interview that is difficult is sometimes so this is more like technical, like on the early online assessment. Sometimes they ask you like math questions. So yeah, so those kind of things are also kind of like were also challenging for me. So I think the point is that like you can't really expect, depending. I think some of the tech companies like Amazon, the structure is quite formalized, right? Like what to expect by talking to other people. But some other companies, it is they're like they can ask you anything. So yeah, so that makes it like the interview challenging. But I guess like I think a position where come along that fits your knowledge and where you can grow. So don't feel bad if you can answer some of the questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. I actually think it's funny. I think I actually remember you talking to me when you were a student about that experience with your data science technical interview. That's ringing some bells. Okay, so then on the other end of the spectrum, and Leo, I will call on you for this one because you didn't have a chance to answer the last question. What was the most direct or easiest technical interview you had?
The easiest, let me think. like the easiest one I could think of is that they let you prepare ahead of time. And so I once I interviewed with a company, they asked me to prepare a presentation about myself and like a project that I've been working on. And then they will ask questions about the project that I worked on. So I guess the preparation was kind of like took the most of the time, but actually when company ask this kind of question, not many people would want to spend time preparing for that presentation. So once the presentation is ready, and I joined there and just gave my presentation, and they asked some follow-up questions. But I think because you couldn't give too much detail about your project, so most of the questions they ask are like general, they just want to know that it's something you did, not someone you're stealing someone else's project. And I think that was the easiest one because I was well prepared. But other than that, the other like traditional technical interview are like, it's always a surprise. Sometimes the questions are easier, and some like you might have solved similar questions before, then it's like a bonus for you. Like you can just show them that you are really good at a question. But sometimes like it is like Zoe said, if you never prepared for that type of question, then it might be hard for us, but not for, like, it's very subjective, I guess.
Perfect. So let's
Wait, yeah, I can.
so if you want, yeah, you can jump in if you want to.
Yeah, and easy. I wouldn't. I think like whether something is easy or difficult is depends on whether you have prepared for it. So the easy interview that I had was like when I was interviewing with Dale out, like just outside of Boston, and yeah, they just asked Sam like this algorithm questions, and since I have been like practicing a lot of these algorithm questions, I was able to kind of like write down kind of like very optimal solution pretty quickly. Yeah, so those, I think like that. I think one thing is like you need to know what kind of positions you are looking for and prepare for it. That is really the key. You have to like, if you are looking for software engineering, I think yeah, be practice that algorithm questions, because that will make life a lot easier for you, and then you will get the opportunities that you don't expect. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to jump to our next question because we got about 5 more minutes till I do want to jump into Q&A. I've got a few more questions I want to ask and get your insight for the students. And our next question actually does go very well off of what you just answered, Wei. But if you could only suggest 2, things that someone preparing for a technical interview should focus on, what would it be? And you've been talking a lot about preparation. So what would you say are 2 pieces that someone should focus on when preparing for a technical interview? And you can answer that, or anyone on the panel can jump in on that one.
I mean, if it is 2 pieces, I got me thinking.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like what has been quite successful for me is that like I don't know, it is not like the best way. But it seems like they put a lot of. I mean, if you are good at algorithms, like it is just it just works well, because like I was kind of, so at the beginning of my program at Align program at Northeastern. Initially, I was kind of like thinking that I don't want to do. I mean, algorithms are too hard. I don't want to do it, and I would just focus on do projects, and then can like do good projects, and then later, like I got a chance to interview with Intuit. I think that was organized by school. So it is in one of the buildings in Northeastern. And they just asked a simple like political question. And I blew it because I was not, practicing for it. Um, so those are missed opportunities. So those could be like I could have got it if I would have prepared for it. So that taught me like Ali that I need to prepare for it. I think that is one of the things that you need to prepare. I don't think the industry has shifted since I last left Northeastern. So I think that would be something good to prepare. And the other thing is, of course, like communication. Like you need to, like I think in terms of communication, you need to improve not just like communicating your this like algorithm questions, but also like communicating um, what projects you have worked on, right? I think like for like kind of demonstrating clearly how you will collaborate with other people in a actual work environment. How you will solve problems. So those need to come out pretty clearly to the interviewers as well. So both of them you can kind of like improve, enhance by practicing. So I would say yeah, those two. There could be other right as well, but that do seem to be work quite well.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we have a couple more minutes. So there is one other question that I do want to ask before we get into the Q&A. And there's a lot of really good questions already that students are prepared and are asking. But all three of you, of course, have gotten through your co-op and internship experiences. You've graduated, you're working full time. You've gotten past, you're on the other side, right, of the initial preparation phase. What is one tip or what is something that you believe students can do to kind of get over that fear of the technical interview?
I would say you have to practice as much as possible. So mock interviews are the best thing to do. There are a lot of platforms right now wherein you can actually sign up and do this. So I don't think there is a better alternative for that at this point of time, especially since now almost all the interviews are virtual. If you meet a person virtually and try to have this conversation through this Zoom or Bluetooth, something like that, then you get to know how to play that game. Ultimately, interviewing is not only about how smart you are, but how you're going to present your smartness to the other person who is sitting behind the screen. So I would say just do as much as possible in terms of mock interviews.
Yeah, I definitely work echo on that. I think like this nervousness, right? I it because like you do want the job and uh and then like you want to have a job secured after college. So everything seems to be depend on that, and you are like so invested in it that like when you are so invested in it, like you're kind of nervous that if something will go wrong. Um, so only practice can kind of like calm you down, and then like let you like if you are in the say like if you have been practicing this algorithm interview a lot, then you are kind of in that sequence like unconsciously that you need to kind of like a set of sequence like first come up with some examples, um, ask the clarification questions, come up with some answers. Like only if you are usually like if you are nervous, you are kind of clear thinking also goes down. But only when you have enough practice that they will come back to you at the time. Um, so yeah, and then and then also like that is something that you can control. When you practice, like your performance will improve in the interview. Another thing is, of course, like depends on your interviewers. Some of the interviewers are a little bit some are like really nice, they make you feel comfortable. So in that case you feel like more relaxed, and then you feel like talking to a colleague. You are very like that keeps you calm, and then are able to think clearly. But sometimes, they are not very like cooperative. In that case, like that makes it worse. So things like that. Yeah. So I would say like do what you can control, right? Practice. But on the other side, if the um, it depends on that which interviewer you got. So yeah, yeah, I think the same idea as what Kagan has said.
I think I also had this nervousness problem, but it went away after I blew up an interview. It was like, okay, I blew it up. There's nothing I can do. So after that, I feel like I don't feel as nervous as before. And also, I think it depends on like how much is your dream company, and it increases with like how much you want to join that company. But I think you should like make your mindset to not think about it's your dream company, but just take every interview as like everyone is like it's not they are interviewing you, but also you are interviewing them. Like you have like they represent the company, so you also want to find out something from the company from them. So it's kind of like a conversation instead of one person is at a higher position, they're like overseeing you. So I think maybe it's not true, but when I talk to myself in this way, it helps me calm down and like perform. As sometimes I still get nervous, but I think it helps.
Thank you. No, thank you. That's all amazing insight from all three of you. Thank you for answering the questions that we've asked. I do want to make sure we have time here for some Q&A, and there's a lot of questions. I know, Gagan, you've started answering a few of them as well by typing, so we may do that for some of these because there's so many, but I do want to give us that time to start. So I'm going to turn it over to Kara Greeny, who is our Align Co-op career intern, who's going to lead us in Q&A.
Yes, hello folks. It's great to be listening and to all of your insight, as well as seeing the abundance of questions. So we will be trying to do as many as we can with the time we have today live. So we are going to start with a question, kind of like a myth, and seeing what your thoughts are on it. And anyone is free to answer any of these questions, so just jump in. And this is it actually true that grinding leak code will cost 90% of the time for technical interview preparation?
I want to say no, but I know I will be lying if I say it. But it need not be 90%. I would say it's somewhere around 60 to 70. To be frank, it's really hard to quantize that particular number. But if you are very sure about your data structure and algorithms, if you're not sure, then I would definitely recommend you to go and solve as many algorithm problems as possible. And that being said, if the content is really good and if you don't know how to present it, then that's going to be an issue as well. So you need to understand how to strike that balance between the technical aspect as well as the presentation aspect of it.
Sure. Thank you for that insight.
Yeah. I would say that like it could go, I think it depends on where you start. So if you are starting like grinding legal when you are like, say like you want to get a job in like 2 months and you started now, for sure, like you have to be working like at 90%. But I don't think that is ideal, that gives you a lot of stress. So if you are early in, in your CS program, and after you have taken algorithm class, which I would recommend to take you as early as possible, and then start something. Start early and start simple. So start with, you don't jump into medium questions, or start with something easy, and then work your way up, and then start early, so that it will give you a more enjoyable experience where you also like prepare this interviewing, and also you can also spend time on like study your computer science topics, because LeetCode is important for getting a job, but also these computer science important subtopic because you will be using them in real job. Yeah, so you don't want you don't want to do just LeetCode and kind of like do not study the rest, because they are gonna be come back to you when you are actually on the job.
Sure, and that actually answered another question that was on our list. So thank you for that. Another question that we had is, as an aligned student, what projects can we do, or what experience should we have so we have a competitive resume to get to that interview stage?
So the first project I put on my resume was from the 5004 class. It's nothing to be brag about it, but it was actually the first thing that I made that I can put on resume. But after that, I think if you have spare time, you could work on some web application. That's like the most common ones we see on resume, and also like because it includes both front-end knowledge, back-end knowledge, and you could demonstrate how well prepared and your knowledge about this, like computer science in general. But if you are into machine learning, want to become a machine learning engineer, maybe you want to do some personal project on training some model and find some problems to solve on that. What was the name of that website? Kaggle.com. You could practice. I think that's also a good one.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I think like you would like to, when you are like selecting courses, right? I think what is, like it is important that you pick where topics that you are interested in. Like you don't want to choose a topic that you are not interested in, but it's just go for because like if you are interested in the topic, you learn the very different things. So that is the first thing. And then the bonus is that if that course has a project, that is good, because you have something to show for it. If it does not have project, you don't have you don't have anything to show for it. But that said, like you shouldn't be just handing down projects if you are not interested in the topic, because you want to learn that much. So I think eventually you're gonna get like some interviews, and yeah, I think like as long as you have some projects, which I'm sure you will have, then the rest is going to be whether you can like pass the interview. So project will get you the first interview, right? And then from that point on, you have to pass the interview. Yeah, so I will also focus, like students to kind of like reflect what they are interested in. Also, taking those classes, because so far during my like CS program, I spent a lot of time on machine learning. I took like quite a majority of classes in machine learning, and I think some of them do not have good projects, but I think it turned out just fine.
Sure. And thinking about, we had a question come in that I would love to hear your thoughts on. How important is it to solve correctly a technical question that the interview asks?
I think depending on the difficulty, right? If you are not if you are given an easy problem, and if you are not able to give the correct answer, that might not reflect very well. But if you're given, kind of like a median or hardcore, like something that they don't expect you to solve, but they will expect you to make progress, then an incorrect answer might not be necessary, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, and you still should practice though.
Sure. All right, another question that we had coming in. We have lots, so I can keep throwing them at you all. What differences are there for a PM technical interview versus a software engineering interview?
So there is a lot of difference. So if you're a technical product manager, folks would be really interested to know in which area you have expertise. I had, like, when I joined Red Hat as an intern, I joined as a product manager intern. And it's really hard, to be frank, it's really hard to get one of those internships because there are not many product manager internship positions that are open. So I would say you have to understand what is your expertise and apply for those companies. For me, it was Kubernetes, one of the concepts that is used in cloud computing, and I applied for that. But once I got to know, what exactly a product manager does, it's entirely different than a normal software engineer. So I had to apply for software engineer position again for my full-time position. And then, I just moved back to product management. So it's entirely different. It's not like, product manager is just behavioral. Now, everyone who works in software is expected to at least write scripts to understand the subsystem and everything. But you will not be asked, let's say, a lead code hat cushion for a product manager position. That is not going to happen. So yeah, that is how those two are different.
Sure. Thank you for that. Let's see, another question. What advice do you have for first-year line MSCS students other than studying, was the question.
I think studying is the most important one, even though it's probably not very, like, doesn't contain a lot of happiness, but I think especially the first year is where we ramped up to get in the same speed as a general student. So it's quite important period of time. But yeah, maybe Zui, Gagang, maybe you have some other insights.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember that early 2 semester, all I remember is that I'm also studying. So I guess apart from that, maybe, enjoy I mean, there are like a lot of special interest groups, clubs, and all these, and participate in them, I guess, when you have free time. Yeah, but I guess you also need to study to lay the groundwork, because some of the future real master MSCS classes are going to be a little bit more challenging. So yeah, if you have to go back to the basic when you are trying to tackle these master classes, it will be more challenging. Yeah, so yeah, I think you need a balance, right? You don't want to burn out just studying all the time. Yeah, try. I mean, yeah. If it is the summer, go out and go kayak in the Charles River, I guess. Yeah, and then that it seems fit for your schedule.
Sure, thank you for that insight. Another question more about like logistics. How many technical rounds should we expect in a co-op interview?
I would say you can expect at least 2. So the first one would be screening. You will get a call from a person who has actually taken a look at your resume. They just want to see that you align with their requirements. And the other one will be the actual interview, wherein you'll be asked a question and you have to solve that. If you are not able to solve it, that is fine. At least let them know what is your way of solving it. And if they find it interesting, then you might be extended often. So I would say at least 2, but it depends.
Yeah, I would say, I think usually they start out with the online assessment. If it is a big company, um, and then there will be a phone interview with the with the with how do you call it, recruiter. It's not technical. It would be kind of like, kind of like they're just checking whether you are like interested in the position. They will talk about what the position will look like, things like that, and then you can expect something technical. So this means, yeah, it will be kind of like, it could contain this algorithm question, or it could contain some object-oriented design and some other questions depending on the job role that you are applying for. So you can expect like to do 3 steps. Yeah, the last step is only technical. Yeah. So like if you are applying for full time, there's an additional step, which is the on-site.
Sure, thank you. I know earlier we were discussing the importance of starting early and staying consistent with preparation, but we did have a question come in thinking, if you have a week before a technical interview, what should you focus on within that week before the technical interview?
Yeah, I think like the first thing is you need to find out what is going to be in the interview. If you are lucky, you would know it. Well, I guess like I mean like what are they going to ask? Are they going to ask uh, object-oriented design, or are they going to just focus on algorithms, and or would it be operating system, things like that? And then if it is algorithms, what I do is kind of simple. Like for them, if you use something like LeetCode, you can like filter by the company, and then you can practice some of them. Yeah. So that's probably it. I mean, the other things like say object-oriented design, you can like there are some like content online where they will give you some problem, and then they will like yeah, there are some like sample answers, so you can also read up on those. Yeah. So but I think like the effectiveness is is hard to say, because sometimes if you're lucky, you would you might be able to answer them, but if you're not lucky, like they won't ask you the things that you have prepared. So that's why like yeah, it's important to start early, and then cover as much ground as possible.
Sure. Reflecting back on your application process, we had a question come in asking approximately how many companies did you apply to overall, thinking about the internship co-op search as well as full-time search before getting an offer?
For internship, it was quite a lot. I think I applied for nearly 80 companies and I heard back only from 10, at least like those were the companies who were ready to engage with me. But again, this depends on what are the companies that you're going to apply for. So does one of your skill set match the job requirement that has been put out there, something like that. For internship, and full-time position, that's going to be quite a lot in terms of number of applications that you have to apply. But for co-op, not so much, because not many companies are going to offer co-op positions, and at the same time, not many universities will let students to go a co-op role. So that is the difference. I would say for me personally, the hit ratio was 1:8. So it might differ based on the person's resume.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. You know, like you can use a few resources, right? That I can remember, there are like 3. So the first one is this career fairs that Northeastern organize every semester or something. And then second resource is this co-op database. The third resource is right, you just go on the internet and apply. Yeah. but you can expect, yeah, you have to apply. I mean, when I did it, I apply as much as possible, as many as possible. And I think that will probably come around like 80 to 100 applications. Most of them I didn't hear back. So yeah, because like if you apply more, you increase your likelihood of getting a call. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say I think sometimes company come to Northeastern to recruit. They organize, maybe they don't call it as a recruiting event, but they call it like a seminar, like and usually afterwards they would give a QR code that you can scan and showing that you have attended this event. And sometimes I receive follow-up email from recruiters after I do this scanning QR code thing. And also, I think Quarry College has a career fair, at least when I was there, and I got my co-op like during that career fair. Not instantly, but I met a recruiter from a local startup company, and then they organized the interview for me. So yeah, I think pay attention to those events. Those are important as well, in addition to applying online.
Sure. Thank you everyone for your experience. We've been getting quite a bit of LeetCode questions in the chat. So thinking about kind of your process with LeetCode, and if there were also any other things that you utilized other than LeetCode, we would love to hear that because we've had multiple questions related to that in the chat.
Yeah, I think like my journey with that is that I made a mistake initially trying to get like to solve the harder questions fast. Like say the like we got it like in like if legal specific case is going to be medium questions. So what happened was I got like you know, I could not solve it. So it took like a while. I could not solve it, and I got like discouraged, right? And then I put it on the shelf and didn't come back to it. And then I think that the lesson is that, you know, start easy, because if you are not in that thinking mode, you need to cover the basics first, which are in the easy questions. So like by doing easy questions, then you gain your confidence, and then you can like take it slow. You know, don't get discouraged. That's the important thing, because if you got discouraged, you stop doing it, and then you know, then you will not pass the interview. So starting easy is starting with easy is important. The other thing is like stay interested, right? Like for me, like by studying more, I got interested in the topic in algorithms. So I try to learn even more stuff. So we use this introduction to algorithm books, you know, try to read about it, and then the topics that you haven't read before. And then I even took like some of the advanced like algorithm classes in MIT OpenCourseWare. So this is after I took the Northeastern algorithm class. So yeah, stay interested, and then start with easy and work your way up gradually. Is like work out well for me.
Sure. Thank you for that insight. Anyone else have reflections on their process?
I have the same approach as we, starting with easy ones, and also I think there are a bunch of filters on LeetCode. I started with the most popular 100 questions asked by big companies, something like that, and then filter out the easy ones. Start with those in case you got an interview while you are preparing for it. And then once you're comfortable solving the easy ones, don't do too much easy ones. I would think, like after you practice 10 easy ones, then try to solve a medium one. And then you got discouraged again, you go back to the easy ones, and then you it's kind of have to adjust the mindset several times.
I mean, one of the reasons why I believe LeetCode is now so famous is not because of the questions that are there, but because of the organization, like how it is organized to data structures. So you need not solve like all the 100 problems that are there in HashMap or trees. Just understand the concept. Try to solve 2 easy, 2 medium, and 1 hard to begin with. Always start with easy, because if you are not able to solve it, you'll be disgraced, and there is this huge mountain that you have to break. So always start with easy, and then move up the ladder. And as I said, try to solve just 5 questions to begin with in all the concepts. And then if you have got some time, then start doing more and more.
Thank you for all of that. To wrap up a little bit, I would love to hear from all 3 of your experience. We've gotten a lot of questions about timelines. And I would love to hear kind of your timeline during your program at Northeastern in regards to when you decided co-op internship, as well as preparation for the full-time search. So I think this is what we'll probably end on. If you want to go around and just say your experience with when you did co-ops, when you did internships and all that kind of stuff.
I can start. So my program started in fall of 2016, and I started applying for co-op positions that are listed in Northeastern co-op dashboard somewhere during March of 2017. So this was like in the middle of my second semester. And I had my co-op by say April of 2017, and I went there for my co-op, came back, and even when I was doing my co-op, I started to apply for internships. Usually internships, in bigger companies, the applications would be open, say 8 or 9 months before the actual position starts. So there is no concept like too early to apply. You can apply as early as possible. That is fine. And then I had my internship offer letter in January of 2018. I did my internship in the summer of 2018. And when I was doing my internship, I started to apply for full-time positions. And since I was already working at Red Hat, when I applied for full-time software engineer position at Red Hat, folks understood what was the product I was working on and everything. So it was pretty easy for me to get this full-time position since I was working in the company already. So this is my timeline.
Sure, thanks.
So I think there are like 2 recruiting seasons. One is in the fall and the other usually one is in the fall and the other is in the spring. So I started my program in spring and so January. And then I think I started looking for internship in August of the same year. So basically the summer of the second year, I did my first internship. And I also was able to find a co-op in the August of the, I think August or September of the first year. So I think for Alliance students, you have to at least take the 5004 before it's ready to find an internship. I don't know if there's a rule for that, but I think technically you would need the 5004 knowledge, which is the OOD, before you can apply for, like, you also feel more confident after taking that class. And then the next year I did another internship where I got a returnship, so a return offer. So I joined after I graduated directly.
All right, we are out of time, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to end it here. But this has been really great. Thank you, all 3 of you, for sharing your insight, answering questions. There are some questions we didn't get to in the Q&A. I think many of them are related to what we did ask. But would you all be open to us sharing your contact information with participants in case anybody does want to connect with you or maybe ask some more specific questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, thank you all, honestly.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where do we share?
You can send it to, you can just email it, I think, to Smile and us,
Okay.
and we can take care of that. Thank you so much, all three of you, for being here in the middle of the day and answering these questions. This has been very helpful and very insightful, I think, to the students participating.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Yep.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.